Constructors come and go, drivers rise and fall. But even as politics change and history moves on, the spirit of competition burns as strongly as it ever has. Welcome back then to Formula One, as battle is joined at the summit of motorsport once again. It's a sellout crowd of 140,000 here today as we await lights out for the 730-metre sprint down to turn 1 of this 2.9-mile racetrack. Overtaking is challenging through these 16 corners, but there's still a lot of high-speed excitement to be found, including the flat-out turn 3 and the terrifying blind right of turn 9. I won't be commentating alone today, of course. Nope, I have the honour to share this commentary box with none other than Anthony Davidson. And you and I were talking earlier today about how tight that midfield battle is compared to the last couple of years. Why do you think that is?
Well, I suppose the main reason is simply stability in the regulations. Look at what we had towards the end of the V8 era. In 2012, we had 7 winners in 7 races. And we talk about the dominance of Red Bull at that time, but their advantage was rarely more than 2 or 3 tenths of a second. And we've had this current formula now for a couple of years, and that serves to solve any teething troubles with reliability. Let's not forget that these cars are more technical than ever before, so it was always going to take a bit of time for those gaps to come down.
Okay, I know it's your home Grand Prix, but treat it like any other race. Don't take unnecessary risks.
So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. Nico Rosberg will start his silver arrow from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Raikkonen, Ricciardo, Sebastian Vettel and Verstappen, Perez, Hülkenberg, Bottas and Felipe Massa, Alonso, Grosjean, Daniel Kvyat and Button, Sainz, Magnussen, Esteban Gutierrez and Jolyon Palmer, Wehrlein and Nasser, Rio Haryanto and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track. Great win then for the Toro Rosso team today. Anthony, what do you think made the difference here?
I think the key here was just the quality of the racecraft, you know. I mean, how many overtakes did they make overall? I'm sure we have a stat person keeping score somewhere, and it was fantastic to watch, wasn't it? This is a strategic sport at the end of the day, but it's always really gratifying to see close-fought battles on track. It's what all the fans are after.
And it's time now for the podium celebrations, and how well deserved is this one? This is a team all about giving talented young drivers an opportunity to race and to win. Toro Rosso are your winners here today. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Carlos Sainz takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship after that excellent result. Now then, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
Probably Carlos Sainz. You know, strong pace, good work with the strategy, just a very complete drive, I think.
After all that excitement, it's time for a lie down, I think. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye until the next race.